my dad's birthday, so I'm gonna remember it.
Yeah.
What I
Like, well, I wrote it on the card, but she said, I can already have a card at my birthday, and I'll get there.
So,
They moved.
a match.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay great. Somebody. Yeah, that is. That's done separate. Yeah, because.
Oh, yeah, Sam's up there with.
Yep, yep. Everybody's there, Sawyer's there. He's,
So you're saying that he's maintaining because Sawyer's with him? Doubtful.
Well, no, but they don't. They want to have them to go best.
Wow.
Correct. No, he's up in South.
All right, am I,
Hanging out.
Maybe protect every once in a while, or
Yeah. Please text me. There, he said, hey, I got down here.
we're not on yet.
Yes. Yeah. All right. The average.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order on the regular city council meeting on July 2nd.
Talking,
Maybe gavel that down.
there's no mics
The
on.
mics.
Oh, that's why. Sorry.
There's no scratchy.
I know, everybody.
Aha.
Scratchy.
I know you were looking for cute.
There.
Sorry.
Thanks. Okay, we're calling the regular city council meeting of July 2nd, 2025 to order. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I will let the clerk call the roll.
Mayor Smith. Deborah Adams. Seaver.
She's on mute.
She's mute.
I know. Deborah, you're on mute. Do you hear us? Okay. Aaron Hansen,
Here.
Daisy Kinsman,
Here.
Mike Mickelson is absent. Wendy Rainey. They're not hearing us.
Here,
No. Wendy, do you hear us?
yep,
I wonder if we're not.
Not hearing anything.
Turn up.
I can hear you guys great. Can you hear me?
Did you do that last time?
On what? Exactly. Meeting owl, that's what it's supposed to say. Don't know what else to do. I'm afraid to do anything.
Can you hear me?
So private.
They can hear. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. I think that,
Wendy?
Can you do that again, Susan, the output?
Oh, what happened? I thought.
Click on the output volume, yeah, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
yes,
Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
Okay,
What, do I need this on?
no?
We're good.
Don't mess with something that's working.
Right.
So can you hear me or not?
Yes.
Okay, I can hear you. Sounds like we're good.
Great.
Deborah, do you hear us? Okay. I'm calling Deborah and Wendy here by Zoom because I see them. I'm Kathy Sherman.
Here.
Dave Zastro.
Here.
That's a form of council.
So we have the agenda before us. I would entertain a motion to approve. Or,
I move to approve.
is there a second? Second. Thank you. Any modifications or edits? To the agenda? All those in favor of the agenda as presented, please say aye. Any opposed? Same sign, thank you. Disclosures of conflicts of interest, are there any disclosures to be made? In, of conflicts of interest or ex parte communication? Okay. Karina?
Never got a hand up.
I think that's just the cursor. Like, it's the cursor on the screen. Because otherwise it's that little yellow hand.
Oh, you're right, it's yellow. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Get that hand in. Okay, we don't have any guest speakers scheduled. Audience comments regarding agenda items? Want to come forward and speak?
Good evening. Stephen Phillips, 100 Yandle. I'm here to speak to 5A, the Arts and Pageants kindergarten requirement through the state that we have approval through the council. Once again, I'd just like to add that we really appreciate the council's support in this fundraiser that we do every year. It's a lot of fun for everybody involved and a lot of work for me, but it's what I enjoy. So it's my one thing a year that's really awesome. I would like to point out that I think it would be better served to potentially change an ordinance involved with the ski hill and put it under the same guise with the city center. Because right now comes before council to approve usage for the beer garden every year, yet we have the city manager approve things in the event center. So I kind of feel like it should be in the same spot, but I would leave that to you guys to make those decisions. I would just recommend it as a citizen who deals with it every year. And the other side of that, as your fire chief, I just wanted to thank council again for having our backs and the support with that. And I'd like to just make a shout out to the city manager for all the effort that she's been putting in with me on a weekly basis and getting our Q3 EMS schedule taken care of. I think we're in a really good, strong position right now. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else who wants to make a comment?
Thank you, Moody. Hey, Silas Catholic. Born and raised here. My great grandmother came here to be partners in the business out at Crystal Falls. And our families over the years, over the decades, has had multiple pieces of Cordova business and family. A lot of my relatives are in the graveyard. Thank you guys for spending time marking graveyards. And I understand that we need to evaluate our land and use it carefully so that we can afford to make money here, so people will come. Again, you know, when I talk about the covered space thing at the end there, where we're thinking of not letting it be a covered space. That piece of property for me over the decades has been the place where you load the boat. The kids can't come because it's not safe for them to come down to the boat and say goodbye. Everybody gets everything buttoned up and you get on the boat and you leave. And you may not come back alive. You may come back head injury, our risks of not coming back in one piece are real. And so our families need a safe place to be able to continue to wave to people as they go out. And I think that's a perfect place, covered space there. For me, when I go out there, I remember waving to people who didn't come back. My brother, Mark, Booty, when I got to wave, bye-bye, and then he never came back. There are so many people. And when I stand there, it has become sacred ground for me. And I also notice other families are using it that way, to say goodbye. When people say goodbye to you on the boat and you go fish, they're all about business. They're all about making sure everything's on the boat. You're gonna be able to go out and as best as possible make money. But then when you leave, the last thing that's in your mind is, geez, I hope they think of me. Gee, I hope I do well, so they'll, hope to have me come back. And if they're out there waving at you in the wind, safely with the kids, it's a big come back alive with my sign to me. And I watched 2 years ago families doing that, and I thought, wow, this is the one really safe place where a tiny toddler, can run and participate in the departure of their family member as they're leaving. And it's just sacred. There are not a lot of different places where it's safe to do that. That piece of property I'm probably in my 3-minute vacant, is the only place that's really safe to be able to really let toddlers run and say goodbye to people who may not come back and live. So that's it. Good luck. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Belle Nicholson from 206 Lake Avenue. And I just also wanted to speak in favor of parks and community spaces where community can gather and be there as a support system for the fishing community. And I don't know about you, but we do have terrible weather, and it's nice that we have a covered space. If it could be a covered picnic area there at the entrance, the harbor entrance, where people could gather for birthdays or other occasions. And I think things like the food truck, the jump, and others are fit right in with that sense of place. And I know I heard that I got a call this week about potential grant that we could get to pay for a covered space and, the plants and so forth. And I really think that people would really jump in and volunteer and help Parks Department keep that up. And I just feel like we as wonderful citizens of Cordova, long-term citizens of Cordova, that this is really special and shows what our community is about, which is the fishing, but it's also about community. And so I would like to speak in favor of keeping that as a public space there. I'd also like to see the breakwater trailhead, a space there for a covered space as well. Anyway, thank you for all your efforts. Yeah.
Good evening. Let's see, can you hear me? I want to make sure that I'm heard.
You can have closer to you.
Yeah, I'll do that, because. Okay, thank you very much. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm Sharon Ermold, a lifelong Cordovan, and I'm here, on behalf of, someone that was unable to attend, and also for myself personally. I've been asked to read this on behalf of Mary Ann Bishop, who resides at 700 4th Street and is out of town. She's writing on behalf of the Prince William Sound Audubon Society, for which she serves as their president. Dear Cordova City Council, I am writing to you regarding agenda item 11. 10 years ago, the city of Cordova went through a similar exercise of issuing a RFP for the breakwater fill lot. Council then proceeded to pass an ordinance to sell the breakwater fill lot to a private business despite public opposition. To refresh memories, the result was a citizen's petition or a referendum that put the ordinance on the ballot. The citizens voted resoundingly no to the sale. Tonight, you are basically seeing future poll results. The citizens of Cordova are letting council know that well in advance, the sale of the breakwater fill lot is not what they want. Over 260 Cordovan voters, as well as a few former Cordovans, have signed a petition to designate it a public access area for picnicking and food trucks. That already represents over 1/3 of the ballots cast in the March election. You had a community survey with over 100 responses, and 76% of those responses were in favor of keeping it a public space. Why are we going through this painful exercise again and again when the public has been vocal and direct about the need to keep this a public place? I ask you to vote no on the proposal to issue an RFP for the sale. For more than 10 years, the public has used the entrance to the harbor as a public space for viewing, as a place to eat. It is used by families to greet their departing and returning fishers. It brings in revenue from the food trucks. It also brings intangible benefits to the citizens of Cordova. The breakwater fill lot is more important to the people of Cordova and Cordova's visitors than it is the convenience of one private owner. I have watched the city sell valuable waterfront numerous times now for promised projects that did not happen. For example, what had been proposed and sold for a laundromat and business center is a storage area. The harbor entrance is the last remaining public lot. Please keep it that way. Once again, I respectfully ask council to vote no on the proposal to issue an RFP so that history does not have to repeat itself with a citizen's petition for a referendum. That was from Mary Ann Fisher. And just myself personally, I think that I would like to see it remain as a public area too. Numerous times I've seen Cordovans and visitors go to that area because it is, like Mary Ann pointed out, the spot to see fishermen come and go. And it's just one area that is unobstructed. It's got a food truck there currently. I think that just for the future, and I also think of elderly people, that category now, is that it's an easy place to access. And so if you want to go down there and have a sandwich, a cup of coffee, it would be so nice to have it in a place that was designated for all townspeople. So I just am in support of it remaining that way. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.
Gonna
people to be mindful of the 3 minute. Limit, just to be fair to everybody, that are meetings, so.
Hi, I'm Paul Schwartzbart, live in Athens, New Goodland, and, I've been involved in the fishing industry for over 50 years. And, I had lunch today down at the Breakwater Fill area at the harbor entrance. And it was very, very tasty. It was great watching boats coming and going. And, but you know what was even better was, there was a family park next to me and they had a bunch of kids on. And when their dad drove by his boat, the kids just went nuts, cheering and waving. It was really, it was, great to see that enthusiasm and the connection between the people who work and stay in town and the guys who go out, the women who go out, on the fishing grounds. And, it was Cordova at its best. And just exemplify the connection between the fleet and the town. So I asked the council to, when they contemplate what to do with this piece of property, to please remember that it's not a vacant, unused lot as shown on the map or the plat. It's actually home to a cultural experience unique to Cordova that has evolved independently without government intervention or planning. It just happened organically. The people who started this, created this, are the citizens of Cordova. And it was created spontaneously, and I really think that we should let the citizens who own it keep it. And I'd like to thank all the city council members for their hard work and volunteering. And we really appreciate your hard work. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alfred.
Hi, everybody. Hello. A lot of, I agree with everything that's been said. My name's Paula Payne. I'm at 1805 Lakeview. And I'm here to speak in favor of, the city designating the harbor entrance lot of public space as well. I feel strongly about that the city should retain this lot for the public, for the city. And it would beautify our city, our entrance to our city. We can make it a beautiful park. We can make it a beautiful park. And it would, having a picnic pavilion there with multiple picnic tables like we used to enjoy at Child's Glacier. You know, that would be just a wonderful thing. I agree with what Paul said, that this space happened organically as a public space. It's been being used for the last 10 years that way. And so people are already using it in that manner. I want to point out that Cordova has almost 2 solid miles, 1.85 miles of industrial waterfront from Baja Taco all the way around like this, all the way down to the ferry terminal. So I feel pretty strongly that we don't need to develop this last waterfront lot as well. You know, we should save this waterfront lot for the people. I think it would be short-sighted and sad indeed if we lost this lot to the private sector. We would never get it back. Once it's gone forever. And if people are concerned about how it's going to look, this lot, if it goes into the private sector, then you don't have any say over how it's gonna look, right? We wanna keep it looking nice and looking beautiful at the entrance to our harbor. Someone pointed out that the city survey, yes, that over 70% of the people are in favor of it. That's 2 to 1 or over 2 to 1. That's pretty definitive, I think. And the pioneers of Cordova and the Cordova Historical Society have offered to make an informational kiosk to put on there about the history of Cordova fishing and fishing families. Cordova Community Gardens would help with some garden pots or would to look for landscaping up there for beautification. And so I'm asking that City Council demonstrate foresight and designate this lot of public space with a picnic shelter for future generations. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Good evening, I am Stephanie Rosinski, 930 Lake Avenue. What everybody said was beautiful. I'll make this short and sweet. Couple things. One, thank you for all that you guys do and all your volunteering. Really appreciate it. And two, please keep the great water bill up for all of us. That's all I got.
Great, any further audience comments on agenda items? Chairpersons, thanks everyone for commenting, it's great to have. It's great to have public participation at our meetings when we get. Good comments, a good dialogue going. Chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions. Yeah, we want to wait, okay, if there's anything Sanders wanted to say. Okay. Deb Adams did say she is here and she's listening. Okay. Yeah. She's got her mic straightened out. Yeah, my mic is on now, so she's present. Okay. Yeah. So approval of consent calendar.
I will call the roll on the consent calendar, just so everyone knows, Mayor Smith gave me a couple of minor edits to the minutes, not worthy of bringing up now, but I'll edit them. No content. Okay, so on the consent calendar, Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Deborah Adams,
Yes.
Aaron Hansen,
Yes.
and Mike Mickelson is absent, but the consent calendar is approved.
Okay, so approval of minutes, we took care of that. Consideration of bids and proposals, we don't have any reports of officers. I submitted my mayor's report a little bit on the late side, so it didn't make it in the original packet, but the clerk did distribute it. I did want to say, I'm sure it will come up later, but on my way to this meeting tonight, I got hailed. And people were thanking me, and I said, I can't take credit for it, but people were super enthusiastic about the DMV visit. And how beneficial that was and how many people that helped. And I think Amy Hodgkins, whichever way that is spelled, from the LIO has been a superhero.
Yes.
So I just wanted to call out.
And Tina Hammer and Simon helped facilitate when the meet was here, and the two DMV people were amazing. Like that was brutal to sit for 10 hours at a computer and go through applications.
It's great, it's huge. So that was a super success, and thanks to whatever work you had to do to set it up on the front end, because I think it took a lot. Yeah. And let's see, there was one other piece of correspondence. The thing about that,
And it'll go in next time, did you see?
okay,
That it's timely enough. For, if we put it in next time, we can still make comments.
it was,
On a change to the marine mammal protection
mhm,
policy or something.
right, it was like the incidental take notice for sea otters for.
Right, Fish and Wildlife is making a change to it, and they are offering it for public comment.
Yeah.
Until July 23rd, so if we have the meeting on the 16th, you can comment.
Yeah, so I'm happy to answer any questions about what I put in my written report. I did sort of just about come out of my chair when they started talking about home boarding the Hubbers in Valdez. I was like, no.
Question about that.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Did they comment? The two captains that you talked to, they comment about how many nights a winter, how many overnights that they felt that there's a hardship to.
One guy said there's a storm in Cordova every night in the winter. I was like,
quite that
not
bad.
sure about that, right? So anyway, it wasn't, yeah, it was very anecdotal comments, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when I talked to the head of the AMHS, Craig Torga, he was like, no, we're not doing that, but I just reserve the right to be flexible and
For safety.
so. And then there was that thing about the fire main rust in those pipes and the repairs are gonna take longer, so. The Aurora will probably be in layup for 90 days instead of 60 days this fall, so mid-October to mid-January potentially. They'll do the best they can, but. It's a small boat, and they have to. Do a lot of removal until they can find good steel to rebuild to, so. Okay, so then we come to the manager's report.
So I just wanted to mention to Amy too, and Amy, it would not have happened without Amy's. Dedication, all the work she did pre DMV getting here and then coordinating with them, superhero is a very good definition. But also Tina and C1 just kept it flowing. Amy's checking documents and doing everything in, or C1 and Tina are keeping people moving through the thing. We also have a lot of brand new drivers on the road. So you know. So we have some updates on positions. We did hire a police officer. Her name is Lily, and I forgot to write her last name down. She will be doing on the job training through the fall. She just graduated from the academy. There has been some interest from another person in town, so that's kind of being discussed. We are also talking with a police chief candidate, and that's just in the works. We'll see where that rolls probably in the next week or so. We have an offer out to a Cordova Center, potential person. We've had a few inquiries into DMV. So I'm keeping my fingers
Now that
crossed.
the backlog is cleared out.
Yeah, well, it's really not, because I mean, we did not get through the entire list. There's still plenty. We also hired a fire marshal. He will start on July 14th, which is a Monday. He lives in town now. His wife is the XO on the boat. And he has, fire experience in the Navy on a submarine and also in the volunteer fire department in Texas. Very excited about that. So some financial updates. We did transfer 1.5 million from the AMLIP account into the general fund in early June in order to just make it through the payrolls, the payments and everything at that super low point in our revenue. We were on the cusp, but we are now feeling comfortable with where we're at. We're at this point, don't plan on transferring anymore, but we still have $1 million worth of school bond payment. We also have a cut of about $295,000 from school debt reimbursement. And all the 730 from forest receipts. Although maybe forest receipts will come back, we'll see. It is there. The audit, I know the auditors have been gone for a while, but the last document went out the door early this week. Our goal right now is to have financials at the next meeting. We will have an update on that throughout, in between the meetings, just to make sure we get there. So it's going good. That was a big chunk of work that Cheryl had to do for that last part of the audit. And she had to generate a 5,000 page work. So I had a meeting with the AML Coastal Resilient Group. This is a group that AML got funding for, a grant. And the end goal is to have a resilience plan, including a section on where and how to get data for climate change, which when I've tried to do some grants, it's been hard. It's getting better, but it's still hard. So that I hope will happen. There's also, they have some emphasis on, trying to restore with natural solutions. So that'll be interesting to see what some of that looks like. Um, we also have the new HR person, she's doing amazing, Kayleen Johnson, she's got great experience and it's really been great just learning from her. It's pretty excited about that. I've been working with Samantha on funding options for Skaters Cabin. She kicked off the fundraiser. I didn't ask her last week, but the week before there was about 3,000 in that account. She's working to look for sponsors and things like that. We're also looking into grant opportunities. The pool. We are consulting with Chester Pool, trying to get a gasket. They drained the pool completely down, took off a pressure relief valve, which allows if there was enough water in the table water coming up through the table. I'm saying that back there, now. Yeah. Anyway, it would push that valve up so it doesn't damage the pool shell. And it has been used before, it has happened before. But it is damaged. And we believe that's where the large leaking of water has come from, but until we can get a replacement for that, get it on there, fill up the pool about halfway and just wait. We can't do anything. Chester Pool is difficult to get a hold of. Nobody else makes the gasket, but I believe there was some contact and there is hopefully some word back and Samantha gets back on vacation next week. But even after that, it still takes at least 2 to 3 weeks to fill the pool, get the chemicals straight, you know, and do all those things, so we still have a ways. I've been meeting with Hannah and we're gonna have a meeting with the emergency group on the new tsunami brochure that are coming to town. 16th, 15th, to give a presentation. So we'll be meeting with them on that to finalize that brochure. And that's all I got.
That's all.
Yeah. That's it.
It's like huge gains on filling positions.
Yeah, some good, definitely good minutes.
Yes.
Do we have, thank you for the update on DMV, it's fantastic. Do we have any update on that cadence? Do we expect this once a quarter, once anything to get?
On what?
For the DMV coming back to town,
They don't come back to town.
ever,
That's the one trip in
Okay.
fiscal year.
once a year, perfect.
If,
I've received questions on that.
Yeah.
Are they coming back or,
no,
got it.
No.
And then, if we're talking about updates on financials, are we looking at a financial work session to cover some of Q1, Q2, now that we're in Q3?
we'll see. I don't know,
Okay.
you know, with the audit just being completed, trying to catch back up, there's been a lot of medical things going on in the finance department, so we are,
I appreciate that.
we will work it out for the meeting when we have a better idea where we're at.
Thanks.
Just to note, since last we met, it was really good to see the school board budget come back without needing the 117. It's
Yep.
fantastic, so I'm sure that's gonna factor into our next quarter discussions on where we are. But, yeah, really happy to see that, just wanted to note that.
I mean, we didn't take it out of our budget.
Yeah.
For fiscal year 25, but it helped 26.
I guess just to go back and clarify, I know there's been talk about the secure legislation to refund the secure rural schools program, but I don't think that's gonna be for 2026, right?
The article, one I read was a possible reinstatement for 25,
Oh.
25 to 26.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's not passed.
Right, yes.
I've read several articles stating something similar,
Yeah,
believe them,
yeah.
I guess I just would ask is, Pete Hefner was encouraging the city to call Beggage's office and express our support for that. that, so I just wanted to ask for council concurrence on making that call with the mayor and saying, really appreciate it, unless there's folks have a reason not to.
Great.
I was just gonna suggest maybe a call and a follow-up letter in writing, so we have both, because there's a lot of calls
Yes.
right now.
Mhm.
And we got a response from the last letter you wrote, so, in writing.
If I might, Madam Mayor, at this point, since it got brought up during manager report, I just wanted to actually give shout out, kudos to our superintendent. I sat in on the school board meeting where they discussed that. He exercised some great fiscal prudence in his decision. And there was some opposition to it, but he made a strong case and why he was not asking for additional funds. It's really refreshing. So. So make sure that gets out there.
Any questions or comments online?
No, I'm fine.
Thanks. All right, then I think we can move on to the clerk's reports.
Just a couple of things, I wanna thank Colette for, working diligently with some technical IT issues between uploads and whatever. She figured it all out and made it happen, worked a little extra to get the tax bills out timely. So those were mailed, July 1st. So people should pay attention and look at those and, make sure you get yours, because that's a lot of pieces of mail to mail out, so if you don't see it. Please contact us, we can email it to you, we can resend it, just wanna make sure everyone. Gets a look at those. We've also been dealing with some records requests in the office. Those have been coming in a little more regularly than they used to, I think. We'll talk about next week, June 9th, the US Navy will be here to discuss their upcoming training in the Gulf. There's a public session at 5 p.m. in here. So I hope people will come and ask questions. They're gonna give a short presentation. As far as property tax, the oil company, Alyeska, has one property here. It's divided between two owners, I guess. Anyway, that bill always goes out a month early. Because they have to pay by June 30th, so not a month early, but basically, once we set our mill rate, we send them that bill, and that money came in, yay, they were timely, and it was 150,000.
Okay.
So, yay for a little bit more of a mill rate on them anyway. And of course, we had all these weeks between meetings, right? And not a whole lot on the agenda tonight, and I already have like a million things for July 16th. So that should be a fun one and maybe a little bigger packet, but we will get going on that. Including hopefully a couple of ordinances, at least one that you guys directed us to start on with the making sure council has a role in approval of the CBA, putting that in code. So that should be before you on the 16th. And that's all I'm gonna report about right now. Thanks.
Any questions for the clerk? Line. Okay. Right, thank you. So correspondence, then is the next agenda item. We have a few different things in here. A letter, list of signatures from Paul Payne about the water fill. The letter from Congressman Begich about the essential aid service. Review notice about an amendment to a kelp farm lease modification. Out at Windy Bay. Comments and correspondence. Okay. Let's move on to ordinances and resolutions. So.
Well, sorry, I should have said maybe on approval of agenda that you may want to move this to after 13.
Mhm. Are folks okay with modifying the agenda to do that? Or,
Unless council wants to take action before the executive session, that's the will.
yep, that's an option too.
Madam Mayor, I prefer to have the resolution moved to after the executive session.
Any objection?
No,
So we can make that 13A or 14.
If they make it be 14, that's what's left.
Right, unfinished business, council action. Consider issuing an RFP for lot 1, block A, 7A of the Tidewater Development Park, which we've been referring to as the Breakwater Fill Lot. So that. It's on page 43. I think the options are to make a motion to, put a motion on the table for the sake of discussing or not. That's a decision.
If somebody wants any advice, we should put a motion in the affirmative and vote it down. You could also put a motion to postpone it indefinitely, which kills it. I think I prefer voting down the motion to do it. But I think that's just me. Or voting it up if you choose. Sorry.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to, make a motion to move to dispose of the request of lot 1, block 7A Tidewater Development Park, approximately 40,259 square feet. As outlined in Cordova Municipal Code 7.40.060B by requesting sealed proposals to lease or property, purchase the property, an RFP.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, Councilmember Schindler.
Well, that seems like a backwards way to say I would like to vote this down, and I think we heard. First of all, I'm really happy that we went to the public for this process. And I can't say enough, it was. That statement about what has organically happened to that land is so true, because this was all created back in 2012. It's assessed now for the price that we paid to build it. It does keep the wind and waves out of the harbor, but now it does something more, and I'm much more in favor of following the public's lead to keep an open space. And I'd like to keep moving that idea forward with another couple meetings, but not fast, because I think there's other priorities for the city right now, like Skater's Cabin and the pool. But I think things could continue to organically happen nicely for that lot and become a real show point for our community. So I brought it forward for discussion, but that's the way I feel about it.
Thank you. Councilmember Kinsman.
Yes, a couple of points here. I agree, organically happen. What I didn't hear at all today was any other opportunities for revenue sources. So everyone's in favor, which is great. It's beautiful, but not one single person came to the table and said, instead of using this lot, why don't we use this space? Because we need revenue. We were just talking about a revenue deficit. We all heard it. Everyone here, hopefully you heard it. It was all said. But we need revenue, and we're gonna continue to raise the mill rate. Where else we're gonna get revenue? Come tell us, please. We have not just a business. I've heard of several businesses who would like to purchase that space and create a business. Not saying that's the right answer, but at least they're coming forward with options to help us with our deficit. We have, and as we create a public space, and that's fine, it's organically what it is, and it can be a net nothing, you know, where we don't have any public or parks and rec infrastructure that needs to be maintained currently. That's where we're at, and so we can argue back and forth, what's the cost to the city? So we'll just say it's a net zero, but then there's talk of adding additional infrastructure. Well, we have other infrastructure in place, we have other parks in place, and sure, there's some public output, we have great volunteers in the community. But a lot of the maintenance that I see that goes into our current public spaces is still our Parks and Rec department. And that's over, and to that, when they do that, that's an expense to all of us. So it's, and we can say it's just the city, but no, it's every single person in the community, and then it's how are we going to pay for it? If you look at our budget, wages are only going up. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that the city employees shouldn't be compensated and compensated well for what they do. That's not where I'm going, but I'm saying wages, benefits, they're all going to increase and not decrease. And that's an expense to everyone. So as we look at things that we're going to add or another city entity to maintain, it comes at a cost. And I didn't hear one person come up here and say, we want this and let's pay for it this way, or we want this and please increase my mill rate to pay for this. That's how passionate I am about it. No, it's, we just want this. We don't know how it's gonna be paid for. We just want this. And at some point, it's not sustainable. And I'd argue we're already at that point where it's not sustainable. When we hear comment after comment, when we bring another expense up, people are passionate in opposition to the way to pay for it. There's such a limited amount of money that can come in. There's only a limited amount of people. There's only so many people live in Cordova that can share in this piece of the pie. And I'm saying all this, and not that I'm grateful that everyone came out, who came out and spoke in support of it. I just want everyone to really think about what you're asking for and the price that it comes to maintain and create these things. It was a little short-sighted, and I will speak briefly on this, and I'll just speak briefly and broadly on the topic of the Audubon Society. Opposition to an industry and a plan that they had in the fishery to dredge and create something that would have expanded revenue for our community. There was opposition from Audubon on that. And then I just heard from opposition for this, that they want more space. It's difficult to see and how you can have it both ways. So, I can't argue with the public comment. It was great to hear, great to see support. Although if I add the percentages up, if I add anything that has to do with revenue, something that touches revenue. Now, if we take one topic of covered spaces, we'll say that's 33%. We start looking at revenue, we're up over 40%. We add 3 or 4 of those items together that recommend that the space be either a mixed use or some other type of revenue. It's 40%. So, again, all that to be said, thank you for everyone coming out. Thank you for having a comment and speaking up. This is great. This is what it's about. This is what it's about, being involved. It really is just unfortunate that it takes something controversial, a little bit controversial, to get some kind of attendance in this audience. So for that, thank you. Thank you all for showing up. Oh,
Sure.
Sure, that's what I was asking.
Aaron.
So I believe that, we make decisions based off community. And we judge our opinions based off what the community. brings forward and how they vote, and we were elected based off of how people interpret us and where we're gonna go. I do believe that the space is great for what it houses currently. I can't disagree with Casey on funding and revenue. Not utilizing the space has a cost. So at what cost are we willing as a community? What debt are we willing to incur to maintain? And we have talked about building structures, covered spaces. What cost is foundation to sustain the weather that we have in that location when there's nothing to break it? And then the other hard part for me with this is we were unable to put the pavilion back up, grass field, we're unable to maintain the parks that we have. Things are end of life and Parks and Rec is unable to do just the general maintenance. I sat on Parks and Rec for 2 terms and there was wonderful talk about, parks right there at the breakwater, to walk out. There's all these discussions to build new with no solution to maintain what we have. And if we can't maintain what we have, why build something new and shiny when we can't afford to maintain? But I'm also in favor for supporting what the community is in favor for in the direction that they're pushing us. But I don't know if I could be in support for pushing a bunch of extra funding to try and create something for the community. That's my opinion.
Wonders Astro.
Thank you, yeah, I'm gonna echo, I don't necessarily disagree with anything our council members so far have said. I want to echo what Kinsman has said, that it's so great seeing people in the audience. I was at the mug-up a couple weeks ago and it was fantastic seeing all the folks at that. Providing what their thoughts and desires were. That's definitely makes our job a lot easier to know what it is the public wants to see. Yeah, I was on Parks and Rec for 15 years, so I also have a really good feel for how things run in Parks and Rec. I've watched directors, I've worked with 3 different directors now in Parks and Rec. And it's really tough, building new things and maintaining it. Building new things is easy, maintaining it not so easy. Some things that I just want to note in thinking about what this could become. If what I like is that we've got a group of Cordovans that are very passionate about it and are coming up with ideas and solutions and ways to make this a potential possibility for a public space. What I would like to see is that kind of energy continue forward if something were to happen, something physically concrete on the ground, and that would be working with Parks and Rec. I might be working with our covered spaces program, covered spaces project that's already existing down, working with planning and coming up with some real ideas and what the real costs are and the real maintenance of it. It's pretty easy to just say, hey, we can go get grants out there. We'll just blend it in with the rest of the maintenance that Parks and Rec is already doing. We really should be looking at actual numbers and what the reality of all that actually looks like. It's easy to just to talk in generalities, but there's nuts and bolts that would need to be figured out first. I'd also like to point out when it comes to funding right now, as we all know, under the current federal administration, and I've experienced this a lot in my personal job, there's not a lot of grant money out there right now. There's less and less coming on. So the ability for easy money to do projects like this is harder and harder to find. So just but make sure you've got that as part of your understanding on how you might move forward on this. The other thing that worries me about moving forward tonight with an RFP, we've done this a couple of times. Through the process of requesting proposals as council, we have the opportunity at any point during the process to say we don't like what we're seeing being brought forward and stop it. right up to the point where a potential private entity would be purchasing it. We have the authority and ability to stop things at any point in the process. What I don't want to see us do is go out for requests for proposals, have entities out there do all the work, to provide us what they want as far as how they might use that space and lead them along, and then pull the rug out from under them when they've done all the work that they've done in the hopes that they might be able to build something out there for whatever purpose it might be. I don't want to see us keep doing that. That just seems ridiculous as well. So I guess my feeling is there's a strong voice in the community right now. I'm not sure if this is the time to go out for requests for proposals until we do a little bit more work. Again, echoing what Councilmember Sherman has said, I feel like maybe we need to do a little bit more investigation of what the realities are of doing something on that site that's more of a public space. Maybe it's a combination, maybe it's public space and a revenue generating space combination, whatever that might look like. But there's more work to do to determine what that might actually look like. But
Thank you. Online, Deborah, Councilmember Adams or Councilmember Rennie, do you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. This is Councilmember Rainey. So putting it out to RFP doesn't mean that it's not going to be a public space anymore. We heard at the mug up that some of the folks that are thinking about working with that property are talking about potentially adjusting their input and taking into account the public use on that space. I would honestly like to see what the RFPs are that come in for that space. We need revenue generation, and I think we need to open it up and see what there is and what people are willing to do with that space. The other option is for the folks that want a covered space there is to get something together and put a letter of interest in and lease the space. Covered spaces, a covered spaces agenda, not the covered spaces movement right now, because they're not interested in that lot. They're interested in the other side. Could put a lease together and lease the space and put picnic tables on there and put up a pavilion, if that's what you want to do. It doesn't have to be the city, because the city doesn't have the background, the city doesn't have the money to do it, and the city doesn't have the support structure to take on another public space. So yeah, I'm in favor of putting it out to RFP and seeing what comes back in. And if the best use of the lot is to keep the lease structure going with the businesses that are on there, then we keep the lease structure going, but how do we know until we put it out?
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Rennie. Councilmember Adams?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I initially had strong feelings about needing to generate revenue for the community of Cordova, and in all of our past meetings, that's what I've been hearing over and over again, is the budget crisis that we seem to be in. And then this community movement to keep this piece of land that can generate some kind of income, to keep it free to the public. So I'm wanting a lot more information before I make any decision on how to manage this property. And so I would like to keep the RFP option open and make a decision with more information.
Thank you. Have no comment. I think I would just like to, for the record, people are commenting on that we've been hearing from the community, and we have also heard from the Harbor Commission and Planning and Zoning Commission, which is also part of the community, and they both recommended issuing an RFP to see what we might hear back, for the record. And I also want to just kind of make sure that people are considering a range of options. There's a whole range of possibilities, from sell the whole thing to a private entity and have that be private property. And also there's the possibility of leasing it, of not selling anything, doing a long-term lease for use, or like Councilmember Benny said, if the folks who are in support of open space wanted to submit a proposal, that's an option. It's also an option to keep some of that space as public space, but not make an investment in it. The city doesn't have to make a big investment, it could still just be open and accessible. I have heard anecdotally about a previous food truck owner down there who really struggled to keep things secure because of the wind and the weather, and so I think that's something that needs to be taken into account. Yeah, those are just some thoughts. I wanted to say there's a whole range of possibilities. It doesn't have to include, it's not a big zero sum thing, so. Yeah. Yes, Councilmember Hinsman.
I think that's an important piece, and I'm glad I got brought up, and I just want, if I might, to the city manager. There's nothing prohibiting a nonprofit or any other entity from purchasing this lot and making it their own maintained public space. Is there anything out there that would prohibit that?
No.
Okay, thank you. And then for zoning at the breakwater, is there anything that would prohibit covered spaces from being at the Veterans Park and other established recreational areas that you're aware?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Want to point out spaces that already exist. The intent for RFP, and it's been said again, and this is great, and hopefully whatever outcome comes from this is there's more public input on this. That's what this is all about. The RFP process allows us to see what is out there. There may be someone who wants that lot for something private, but also can offer up something private of their own for a public space. We don't know. We also can see 5 different things and decide, we don't want any of these. And you can also be here involved and say, yeah, we don't like any of these options. So.
Would you like to comment on any of this? I'm just asking, I'm sorry.
At the end of the meeting.
At the end of the meeting, okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So that. I think, I guess I don't know what further information we're waiting for until we see what RFP proposals are on. I don't know what else we can wait on as a council, or we can just decide we don't want to go to RFP. And then this just perpetuates and move on from it. But that's, I guess, my comment to council. What further information are we looking for besides what entities out there want to do something with this?
Thank you. Councilmember Zastro?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I also want to ask some questions of our city manager, because I imagine as working in planning and zoning as much as you did, beyond the fact that you're city manager without the information, but one of the things that came up in the mug up in discussions about how that land could be restricted and how it's used. So right now, as it's made available in our land disposal process, once we're going through the process of an RFP, is there an opportunity to create restricted covenances? So say that there's certain ways it can be used, a certain percentage we want available to the public, or how we control the resale of the property. So we're requiring an initial buyer to conduct their business in a certain way. But if they were to sell it to another entity, would that restrictions follow through to whoever owned it? Am I making myself clear?
I don't want that. I don't think subsequent owners can be restricted, can they?
We could have first right of refusal, which we do most of the time on any property that we sell. We can make it a lease, and that would eliminate that. In the future.
Okay.
It is currently unzoned, and so at this point, and I don't think you're asking about the zoning, you're asking if in the RFP. If council came up with some kind of criteria, are you requiring part of it to be public? I mean, or are you just encouraging?
Yeah, potentially, I mean, that's one way of doing it. Again, I go back to how, I mean, I'm not opposed to an RFP, and I just want those that propose a project to know what they're getting into, and if we're gonna end up saying no to any proposal that we know we're gonna say no to because we're concerned about how that space is gonna be used, specifically how the public might have access to it. I guess because one of the proposal potentials coming up during the budget, we had an individual say that they were interested in it would be for a commercial fishing operation. So how would that affect the ability for the public to continue to use that space, a fraction of that space? So I guess that my thought is, what space do we have as council to control how that space is used, the type of uses it might go to?
Are you asking to put something into the RFP defining,
Would that be one way we could do it?
you could,
We put terms in.
I will say the people at the Mug Up were also very aware of the public use and talk about that, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
right.
think it's a secret.
Sure, sure, definitely not a secret, but at this point, there would be a holding to that, you could say one thing in public and then.
Yeah,
Actually
but you
do
don't have to
another.
take their,
Yeah.
it's still an RFP process that is voted on. Just so you know, we just got our hand up to see like.
So Councilmember Ray,
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not gonna vote for an RFP. So if I say I would like an RFP process put out there, it's because I'm interested in seeing what businesses want to offer. In the Mug Up, one potential business was attacked and they don't even have an RFP out yet as to what they want to do with that space. I think the people that are looking to deal with that space know what the public wants, or at least the public that have commented. There are 2,000 citizens in this community. And I think that they getting into it would know, what the public would like to see. But I'm not saying put an RFP out there to make somebody go through the deal knowing I'm going to vote it down. If I say put an RFP out, I want to see what they want to come forward with it. And you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say, oh, let's put an RFP out, but let's restrict it to here. Let's put 6 picnic tables on here. And I want to put a covered space over here. And we don't want porta potties. I mean, it's to an RFP or it's not to an RFP. The piece of land is only so big. Let's just see what's out there.
thank you, Councilmember Ray. I do want to just make one correction for the record too. On page 9, there's a letter for the covered picnic shelter at the Phil lot at the harbor entrance. And in the third paragraph, it says, most recently, when city council, after receiving letters and listening to testimony, voted to deny sale to a private entity in 2025. And that's not quite what happened. The council at the time decided not to issue an RFP. There were 2 letters of interest. They weren't actual proposals. So I just want to make sure that people know that. There was no vote to deny sale to a private entity. It was a vote not to issue an RFP at that time. And those were letters of interest, 1-page letters of interest that I think were a year old. Or at least one of them was. So, yeah, just for the record. So Councilmember Sherman, I think you maybe had your hand up.
Well, I was just gonna maybe try and clarify a couple things in my motion. I'm not seeing the huge rush in this, I guess, and that's why I was thinking through some more community input, there could be some development of how to use that space to combine it with some economic development. And I guess that's where I was thinking, like, what do food trucks need? How many could we accommodate in that area? What kind of shelter is gonna survive out there? There's just things like that, I guess. I'm not in a heck of a rush to get done. Well, there's a lot of other things on our plate and we don't really have the money to invest anyway, but we could continue to build community input. And, that's what we did with Cordova Center too, and we called it community inspired development. So it was 2 years worth of listening to the public. So I'm not in any big hurry, but, I guess I just wanted to clarify too, that I'm well aware of how much it costs to maintain everything that we try and build and develop for the community. And I'm all for economic development. My focus for that is Main Street. And, Main Street is where that focus needs to be. We've got empty lots sitting on Main Street. Luckily, one is now going forward. That's a lot of time and investment on one certain person's interest, but there's a lot of other empty buildings, so that's where I guess my emphasis is, as I'd rather encourage that. So. I just wanted to clarify my feelings on those subjects.
Councilmember Kinsman?
Yeah, and I guess just to that point, I think, to be clear, there's nothing the city can do about this lot. If we're wanting things, that's for me. Further like, importance of this RFP process. It's incumbent on a nonprofit or a private entity. If they want food trucks and to see how many are there, and if they want a public space, and if they want to come together for that, that's great. And I support that, and I want to see that in an RFP, though, what I'm saying is this, if you're going to wait for the city to put up a covered space and to plan out how many food trucks can go there or whatever other parks and rec infrastructure that can go there. I don't see any path forward in any future date that happens because there's so many other pressing things. So again, that is my support for an RFP. See it. I would love to see again, some private entity or some nonprofit to come forward with a very thoughtful community proposed option and plan. And supported however it's going to be supported through whatever entity that might be, and seeing either a business model or supporting other nonprofit agendas in the community. But I don't want to string anyone along in the community also to say that, okay, well, we vote this down, we're not gonna see what's at RFP, and tomorrow we're gonna put something on this lot. It's not, there's no fiscally responsible way to make that happen. So we'll just continue to maintain the empty lot it is when we have other opportunities to see what is out there. What is out there? What are options? Are there options for where maybe whatever business is going to put there, and seafood processing, it's not a secret that it's not very public conducive park space. Get it, it's not safe. But is there an opportunity for that entity to come forward and say, like for like, here's some private like space I can do? That's something we can take into consideration. I think I've spoken about this. And the last thing I'll say is thank you everyone for coming.
Any other comments online? Keep going around and folks want another round of chance to comment. Yes. Call the question.
I'm gonna take a roll on this, okay?
Please.
So on, putting the breakwater fill lot out for RFP. Dave Zastra.
One first.
Sorry, Dave. It's
All the random generator.
I'm gonna say yes, but then I'm gonna watch it like a hawk and be very selective, yes.
Kathy Sherman,
No,
Deborah Adams,
Yes.
Aaron Hansen,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey,
Yes,
and Mike Mickelson is absent. The motion carries 5-1.
Okay. Okay. So that takes us to new miscellaneous business, talking about pending agenda. Calendar. All that good stuff.
all that good stuff.
I think. It sounds like there is a need to have a meeting on the 16th.
Yes,
This is gonna be a full agenda.
looks that way.
So next week we have the meeting, the meet and greet with the Navy. And then,
Which is not a formal council meeting, it's open to the public, and I'm just advertising it as a forum of council where the boards and commissions could be there.
and then is there some tsunami training? Is that
15th.
So it's tsunami like preparedness, yeah, on the 15th.
It's to go over the brochure again.
Okay.
And is that? Okay, maybe I'll just put a quorum of council for that one also,
Yeah, Amanda has the details.
okay. But I was gonna say that Stephen Phillips took the words out of my mouth with that whole thing when I was looking at that piece of code again today. I'm like, why don't we just make it like the Cordova Center and just make it a permit or sign off by the manager?
I have that as a note as well.
Is
So
there-
what do we need to do?
I'm just gonna write an ordinance for that. It's
Okay,
easy peasy.
perfect. We'll
I'm
support
gonna
that.
bring that hopefully
Yeah.
next time. Thank you, Stephen.
And then pending agenda, I understand coming off of the audit and the things that are helped me, I understand people are sick with it, things are going on health wise. And you have an idea maybe at next council meeting when we can have a financial work session, just an update, where we're at, what we have going on.
The goal is to do it at that meeting, yes.
Okay,
But I'm not gonna promise you that that goal will be met.
but
That's what I
cool.
will say.
That's totally fine, if it's
But
not
we are
met,
moving
if it's not met, can we have
Mhm.
a plan moving forward? That would be great, thank you, and just, I think at that point, it's really us covering Q1, Q2, and just, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anything else for pending agenda or other meetings? Is there anything else we need to, we wanted to point out to us, Susan, for the July calendar? Salmon Jam, the 18th and 19th, just wanna make sure everybody knows about that. Coming up.
What do you mean, and the pickleball tournament? And the third.
And the music camp.
Oh, we can throw on there's
That's not-
there's.
Yeah,
July
July
9th is big.
A
July
lot of great things happening.
9th is big. Okay. All right, so that's it for pending agenda now?
Sounds good.
500. Okay. That brings us to audience participation. So now's time, anybody can come forward and speak on anything that's on the agenda or not on the agenda. And yeah, just to respecting everyone's time, I will ask people to keep it to, be mindful of keeping it to 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah Beckett, 317 First Street. Was hoping to hear an update from the city manager today on some of the hardware equipment, but since it wasn't addressed, I'd like to make sure it's visible. I wanted to really touch on the points that the council brought up about sustainability, maintenance, and revenue. Those are really important things for our community. I believe strongly in them. I try to support those in all the businesses I do, and glad to see those topic point. So it's been almost 2 years since the city dropped my tender bill. The incident was caused by city negligence and insufficient training, and then hidden from the public, including the deletion of the video. And then additionally misrepresented to insurance, which has caused me a lot of unnecessary hardships. We finally got our bill repaired, and now the travel lift's broke again. So I want to make sure you're aware it is broken. It's been 1 week and the city still has no ETA for the technician repairs. So not only have I lost multiple seasons, now I'm sitting here waiting for a machine that my guess is hasn't been maintained, and that's why it's broken again. I've asked the city multiple times for help and only got a response from a lawyer. We've gotten zero help and support from the city since this incident. Please fix the travel lift and ensure all the hardware equipment is properly maintained so our community can rely on it and my business can start to recover from the city's negligence. I'd love to be able to contribute to more local revenue. Thanks.
I'll say a few things. Hi, I'm Paula Payne, 1805 Lakeview. I just have a few questions to clarify some of your comments so I understand. When you're saying, I'm just gonna go down in order here, no special order. You're asking us for revenue ideas.
I mean, I feel like a little bit like that was unfair, because that's not a question you should be asking the whole city, not just the people that want to have public space here. And revenue ideas, I mean, I can give you, I mean, we can all, I can brainstorm revenue ideas with you guys, but, and that's, and then, my other comment on that is, well, other communities do this, why can't we? You know, we can figure this out. You know, I agree with Councilman Sherman in that, you know, if you want commerce and stuff, Main Street, there's stuff to sell up there that's looking pretty sad and looking pretty shabby. This is about keeping this public and beautiful for our entrance to our lot. I think there's gotta be other places, other lots to focus on for selling other than that one, the front. Cause it's a $1 million lot. It would be a shame to ruin it and let it go and not keep it in this as part of the city. And then my question, I was envisioning this is something we would raise money for slowly over time. But how do we move forward with that if we don't know if we are able to use the lot? Like, what is the process for that? How does that work? How do we start to develop how much something's gonna cost to build and how much money we need to raise and start to get some of this going if we don't have a indication that we can use the lot? You know what I mean? What's the next, how do we proceed on that? And then the other question, and this is, I guess, Parks and Rec to ask them, but if Parks and Rec can't keep up with all the things that they have they assessed things that aren't being used? And why deny something that is being used and would be used all the time if it was set up and we worked towards it? And if they, do they have other parks, like I think of the grassy field and that part? I mean, they're getting some use right now since Samantha took over, but for 18 years, those didn't get used at all. You know, are there other aspects of Parks and Rec that aren't being used right now that they could maybe let go and think about something new like this? Anyway, those are just some comments, and anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Norman.
My name is Anita Smike and I live at Devil's Lagoon. And this is a question for Dave. Yeah, so we talk about maintenance of a facility or something that the Parks and Rec has. And like for the Forest Service over the last 40 years, I've worked in maintenance of rec sites and I've worked with the covered picnic area on 22 and have maintained that for 9 years, and worked out at Child's Glacier with the covered picnic area. And it seems like if you build something, a sturdy structure like we did at those two places, the maintenance, and this you would know better than me, Dave, was not that much. 22-mile, the maintenance I had to do was clean the fire pit. But as far as the building and the picnic tables, if they're built right, they're gonna be carved into, of course, but other than having to plane off that, you know, there wasn't maintenance. I never really had to do anything to that. I think Dana one time had to do a roof repair out there. But that's a question for you, Dave, is how much maintenance would you have to do on a well-built structure? And I guess we could ask Juno, how much do you spend on maintenance for all those covered picnic areas out at Off Bay, or, you know, there's just, I just wondered if anybody looked into that, because I know the concern on maintenance, there's gonna be trash. And there's have to be, you know, trash pickup. If you have food trucks there, they could, you know, pay for trash pickup, or, you know, you could work out some things like that. This other question I have for everybody is always stupid, but what if you sold part of the lot and designated a part of it? So you got money, but you designated part of it as public space. Can you break it up? Just so you do make money, and then you also still have the public space for people. And the other thing that comes to mind with this is there's so much fun, or so much talk about money. This administration, I'm always hearing billions, millions, trillions. I hear money, 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 but what about what it means for people and a community? I mean, that's such an important aspect. You know, the money has to be there to do things, but there's also the heart of the community, and we are such a strong community that way. We have a gift here, and so it's not that we should look at that as being just as important as the money part of it. Or more important in these days. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Stephanie Rosinski, 930 Lake Avenue. So it looks like we passed to go to RFPs. I do believe that is wasting people's time. Time and time again. We are gonna show up and we are gonna vote it down. And there are more of us. I don't know if you've noticed that. But I didn't see anybody showing up for the other side. So, I liked what you said, David, yes, it is. This has been wasting people's time for how long now? Years and years. Also, can you tell me what other place in Cordova that has where we can bring a newborn baby all the way to the oldest of elders to enjoy 365 days out of the year? It's that lot down there. I've seen it. Newborn babies. Elderly women who can't even get out of their cars to walk down the harbor or up a hill. They can get in their car and they can go to that lot and they can still see their family. And I would like to remind you that we are all headed there. That's gonna be us someday. So I strongly encourage you to make a decision aside from money. And think of not everyone, not just yourself, but everyone around you, and including yourself. Cordova is a special place, and I don't know how you all feel, but it feels like we're getting less and less and less of opportunities here. And if we want to throw that lot away for a business that can have it all to themselves, you're taking away so much. A treasure, a gem, something that holds us together. Kingsman, you said, none of us talked about, how to make the city money for that spot. Well, today, yesterday, and for 9 years, I have been giving the city a profit. And I'm here and I showed up and there's another place, a person down there, and we work really hard. We have a heart to feed and keep the town going. Every single one of your family members has been down there. And I think that's something to be said. I really do. I love how there's talk of sharing the lot. I've been down there for 9 years. That lot is not big. We're gonna be pushing people over the edge. I do strongly agree that the covered space area, I don't wanna go against them, but the lot is perfect the way it is. How much has it cost us to have it there, that we've all enjoyed it for so many years? I don't think we need to get technical. I think when we get technical and we start thinking more is best, we start digging ourselves graves. And I think that that's where we're at right now, and that's why everyone's so uptight. I think we should just keep it the way it is. Allow small businesses opportunities. We're not gonna have anywhere to go. there's a perfect spot down there already. That tourists love. If you guys wanna head the tourists away, don't give up that spot. So many tourists come there and they wanna come back as they're drinking coffee, saying this is the best place there is. I don't know what price tag there is that you guys can come up with that's better than what it already is. Or what other identity can bring that's better than what it already is. I will show up and we all will show up and there will probably be more people showing up. So, thank you. I appreciate taking into consideration everybody and what that lot can be, but there's nothing better than what it already is. And it costs us zero. Thanks.
You.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for being here and doing a job that isn't easy. My name is Natasha Cassiano, 406 Front Street. I'm one of the founders with Dottie Goodman of the Covered Spaces Project. One of the reasons we chose not to designate that breakwater at the harbor entrance lot as a spot for covered spaces is just because it is controversial and it's definitely gone down the road of lots of people wanting to stay the way it's been organically, it's what it's become organically. And I just want to say, as a small business owner, I'm disappointed because I think you guys have discounted the fact that there is a business that has been paying to lease for a long time and has been collecting sales tax. And that has been a revenue gain. And sure, it could be enhanced by having the other food truck that's there now. And so what is that, doubled? So now there's $1,000 income a month on that lot, is that what it is? 7,500 per year, something like that? So there is an income gain happening along with sales tax being collected for the city revenues. And that wasn't even addressed in the conversation when you guys decided to put it out to RFP. And to me, as a small business owner, that's disappointing that you're not realizing that you have people who are trying really hard to stay in business in Cordova. And you didn't even recognize that in the conversation. That's a disappointment. Anyway, I hope you'll understand that having open spaces and then eventually connecting them is invaluable. And we need to do this in Cordova. Sure, it costs money to do these things, but it can be raised and it can be developed over time. It doesn't have to happen overnight. But it is invaluable to have these beautiful open spaces that people can come to. And whether they want to buy a cup of coffee or have a meal or just sit. Those are things that really are invaluable in communities and they need to happen for generations to come. And if we don't plan it now, it'll never happen and we'll be disappointed in the future. Thank you.
Other audience comments? Okay, thanks, everybody. And now we come to council comments. And I won't start at the end of the document. I'm saying pretty much. Thought once, but yeah, why don't we start with Councilmember Sherman? Don't necessarily have any comments. Councilmember Kingsman?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your comments. The one thing I want to address in this decision to go to RFP, there's no sides. And for that, and for my lack of comments for the small business there, I'm not too proud to say I apologize for not commenting that and saying thank you. But to go to RFP does not mean there's a side. And so this is a space for Cordova. And there is an opportunity to see what is out there, what options and opportunities are out there. So that's all it is. And it's an opportunity for you all to hold us accountable as people come in here and as entities put in proposals. I fully expect you and more people to be here and to have your comment and have them. So that is the process. And again, I've said it, I think at least every other time I've said something. I'm not against having controversial things on the agenda, so people show up and hear at least the other things. This is one controversial thing, but hopefully you picked up one other thing that you didn't know that was going on in the city because you chose to attend. So thank you. Thank you for your attendance. And I just want to highlight that. There's no sides, it's just Cordova. That's it. It's just Cordova. Look forward to all of you who are so passionate about these things as open seats come up. Please run. Absolutely. It's just an opportunity to be involved. It's really not that difficult. Takes a little bit of your time. And if you're going to do it, even mediocre, it takes some of your time. But it's just public service. And it's worth it. And it's worth it. So I hope that you'll all take that into consideration. With that, I'll just say thank you for our public services, for our emergency services and the progress and strides we're making with, a new police officer, that's great, potentially police or chief and a fire marshal, all positive things in the right direction. Those are things that require our money. Those are essential services. The other things that are essential services are roads and our sewers and those departments. We can't even go to work or any recreational space if we can't even leave our homes to go and do those things. It's very difficult. And again, I don't even want to be thinking about if we don't have the infrastructure, which is aging and has a high cost for sewer and water. We all use it, and those are really the unsung heroes in our community. So, thank you. That's all I have.
I'm just gonna go to Councilmember Rainey.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's comments and the passion behind it. I just like to remind people that, don't just come out when there's something on the agenda that you're passionate about. Revenue, yeah, we are actually looking for revenue sources at any given time and would take those gladly at any meeting, not just a meeting when there's something on the agenda that you're passionate about. So if you have ways to make more revenue for the city, come to a council meeting and bring them forward. We're all Cordovans. I support the small businesses down on that lot by going to them and buying coffee. I own my own coffee shop, but I go there and buy coffee because I support the small businesses in this town. And I do take offense when we make decisions that are best for Cordova and we have to sit here and be scolded because it doesn't turn out the way people like. We're sitting up here doing a really hard job. We're making really hard decisions and we're trying to think of what's best for the entire community. And while I appreciate it when people come out, it's best if you come with suggestions as opposed to demands. With the mayor's report, I'd like to mention that the new thing coming forward with the euthanasia option for pets, I'm part of that, and we're trying to get it so that we don't have to kill our own animals because we don't have a vet in town. So we're working really hard to get that in place and are looking for support from the community for that as well, so that since we do not have professionals in town at all times, we can come up with a humane way to help us put our pets to rest. And I appreciate you mentioning that, Kristen. That's kind of in its infancy, but we're trying to get it to move forward as quickly as possible. But that's really all I have. This is a frustrating topic, frustrating responses from the community. I know you're frustrated with us, but you know, we all have to live here together, and we're figuring it out as we go.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. And thank you for being part of that group that's dealing with that pet euthanasia issue, because it's, I mean, I went through that last year. It's a real challenge to people who want to have pets in town, so I appreciate you doing work on that. Councilmember Adams?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just, two comments. One, I'm happy to hear that personnel positions are being filled for the city. That seems to be something that we've all wanted for at least past couple of months, so I'm glad to hear that. And then second, the issue of the RFP and many perspectives, and I want to continue to hear many perspectives so that we can make an informed decision on what's best for the whole community. So thank you for the people who came out, and I will be hoping to hear from as many people as possible so that we can make an informed decision. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilmember Hanson.
I'd like to thank the manager and clerk for everything, and the community members who came out and spoke and gave your opinions and recommendation. It helps us make decisions. Sometimes we make mistakes. We do the best that we can, and your input helps us make the decision. And thank you for your guys' time.
Councilmember Zester.
Like Z came in this time. Bringing up the rear. I really appreciate all the comments, pre and post meeting from everybody in the room. I really appreciated being involved in the bug up we had, whatever it was, a week and a half ago. To again echo, Councilmember Kinsman, this is going out for an RFP is just an exploratory process to see what's out there. I could tell you, for my part, I'm gonna be looking for creative ideas, and if whatever is proposed isn't in the benefit of the city and the citizens, then I'm not going to be in favor of it. So that means everybody here that has said here, in these last comments that you're still out there, you're still gonna be involved, please be involved. And continue to watch this process. I'm gonna be watching like a hawk. I'm gonna be definitely very critical of how this space gets used, so. Yeah, I'll go on more about that, but I think enough has been said. Thanks to staff, as always, we have amazing package, great information, a lot to read and to get up to speed on, and you guys make it really easy. Special shout out to our mayor, the mayor's report, and all the things that you were involved in. It's fantastic. Each of these items are key issues that are important to the community, and I really appreciate our mayor running these things down and making these things topics that continue to come up in our council meetings, so we can stay on top of them. Housing, funding, ferry, our essential air service, all these things are so important, and I really appreciate our mayor keeping those on the front burner. That's all I have.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is executive session. Do we want to?
Let's make the motion and then
Take a break.
to clear.
Mayor,
Yes.
I move that council move into executive session, for discussion with city manager and CCMC CEO regarding CCMC finances and future in executive session, because it is a matter the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse effect upon the finances of the city.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. Do we need a motion to recess for a few minutes?
No, but let's vote on that.
Oh.
And then we'll just
Okay.
call for a recess. And go ahead, Sam wants to invite.
Financial officer for the.
Or CCMC? Is council in agreement?
Yes, yeah.
So, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Any
Aye.
opposed, same sign? Okay. Okay, so great. All right, so we'll take a 5-minute recess to clear the room.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So. The owl was stuck on us the whole time.
I noticed that.
I do, you.
This side of the table, this one seat. And I wanted to get up and do something about it, but I never got away from my pen.
I was kind of wondering why, I was,
I guess there's a setting, but I'm like, well, why did that setting ever change? And now people are probably staring. Oh, no, they can't see me, but they can hear me.
at least it was made mostly with Dave.
Yes, it was mostly Dave whining about being first.